So in this HBO film, Soul of the Game, Blair Underwood is Jackie Robinson, and you're Satchel Paige, playing in the Negro Leagues right after World War II, the Kansas City Monarchs. Did you
Yep.
know about these leagues and going in? And are you a big baseball fan?
I am not a big baseball fan. I knew about the Negro Leagues, but learned so much more as a result of doing this work. And I have to mention my good friend Michael T. Williamson in that scene playing Josh Gibson, who did extraordinary work. Um, so no, as always, I did a lot of reading. I read as much as I could. I read every book about Satchel Paige that I could get my hands on. I had not played baseball, so I took lessons on the mound with a young man whose name I can't remember right now, who worked with me, not only in terms of pitching and baseball, but also worked with me in order that I could get some sense of Satchel Paige's particular style on the mound, because he had various windups that he did. He would cock his leg really high, and I ended up actually taking dance lessons during pre-production, because I wanted to be able to be athletic enough to represent Satchel as fully as I could. So I did a lot of research on that project.
So how old was he, and how old were you? Was he playing?
That is how old was Satchel Paige? So look, Satchel was notoriously withholding about his age, but I think that by the time he was eventually called up to the major leagues with Cleveland, he was in his 40s,
Wow.
oldest rookie of the year ever. Um, this film, and I have to say, one of the things that I love about this film, I consider this film to be a love story between these men. The film is set, as you said, right before, up to and including the time that Jackie Robinson, played by Blair Underwood, is called up to the major leagues, and the impact that that has on Josh and Satchel. And it's a beautiful story with these men. But the answer to your question is, I did not know a lot about that world, and did a lot of research and a lot of reading during pre-production before we started working.
Well, I'm a huge baseball fan, and I want to see this movie. I want to watch it. Is it
Oh,
on
it's
HBO
a beautiful
Max, do you
film.
think? I wonder if
Um,
it's on there.
I'm not sure. As you said, it was an HBO film. I'm not sure if it's in HBO's library. I'm not sure where you can find it, but I'm almost positive it's still seeable, gettable. And it's a wonderful film, and I'm really proud of
I
it.
am def that was one because it's a TV movie. I had not seen that. So you got a kick. You're an athlete. I mean, you have a lot of strength and grace physically. So how important is that to what you do as an actor? You have to be able to do action.
Once again, I'm sounding like a broken record right now, because once again it goes back to my theater work, my training, my training as an actor, and the work that I did in the theater. Because as an acting student, many years ago, so many years ago that I'm not going to say how many years ago, but a few years ago, when my career was starting, we did. Dance was part of our training. Doing clown work was part of our training, and so I became, and we would take dance class, right? So I became very aware of my body, and aware of my body in space. So that one of the things that I try to concentrate on when I am encountering a new character is, um, where is this character's center of gravity? How is this character's center of gravity different from my own? Where is my own center of gravity? Now, Anne, I do not go through these steps step by step by step on every single part that I take on. However, particularly at the beginning of my career, I did, and I'd write a biography for each character that I was playing, so that by the time I started filming, I had a sense of how the character that I was playing, how that character moved, and who that individual was prior to the audience seeing that person on screen. So and so it all goes back to the kind of specificity that I try to bring to bear on whatever character, whatever work that I'm doing. And a particular part of that specificity has to do with what the character's physical makeup is and how it is different from my own or
All right, so
similar.
you're playing a nightclub owner in Feeling, Minnesota. That was a physical role. That you
Yeah.
you had to be able to wield a baseball bat.
Look, this was, um, first of all, Feeling Minnesota was beautifully written, wonderful dialogue in that film. And I had this really strange idea that the character I was playing had a really bad process. The hair was fried, what we call fried, and kind of pulled back in this ponytail. And I explained that to a wig maker that I was introduced, a brilliant wig maker that I was introduced to. Her name is Victoria Wood. And I said, I just have this idea about having this hair and being pulled back in a ponytail. And Victoria created it for me. She created for me exactly what I had in my head. And that for me, the wig that I wore in that film, with the ponytail and the hair pulled back, that became central to my depiction of that particular human being.
Are there any other parts that you've played that where prosthetics or costumes or hair or makeup were a big part of your performance?
West Indian Archie, the class,
Right.
I mean, obviously excluding the final scene, but the clothing that West Indian Archie wore, the style, which contributed so centrally and fundamentally to the style that that man had. Crooklyn, the looseness of Woody Carmichael's clothing, which contributed to a certain kind of physical looseness that Woody Carmichael possessed. With Rodney, this kind of tight, wound. Um, Obviously, we're zooming, so I can't demonstrate this, but when I met in Jersey City, when I met the gentleman that the character was based on, even though I had no intention of mimicking him, and that was not what I wanted to do. However, he had asked me to meet him at a gas station in Jersey City on the corner of this gas station. And I pulled up and I waited for him. And then I saw this gentleman coming across the street. And there was a certain kind of lumbering quality. There was a physical quality to the way that he carried himself that immediately for me was a clue as to my way in to this character. So there are elements that one takes from each time that one works. Sometimes it's one element, sometimes it's the clothing, sometimes it's establishing where the center of gravity is. There are various elements that and there's a film that I saw an image from. I'm not sure we're showing a clip, but I did a film called A Life Less Ordinary with Danny Boyle. And I decided that the character, and I don't remember how or why I came up with this, but I decided that the character moved like a horse. So I remember going to the zoo and observing horses. And then um, uh, what's the word? That became part of how I moved physically in that work. So each time out, there's sometimes it's one element, sometimes it's a series of elements that one takes on and starts to investigate in terms of how that impacts physically and psychologically who the character is that one is playing.
Very cool. Very cool. So we're going to go look at some other. Now, I have one more question. I have one more question. So when people are sending scripts to you, do you find that you like most of them or do you not like most of them? And how do you decide which ones you're going to do? Are you picky?
Um, um, Bless your heart when people are sending scripts to me, which suggests that I have a pile of scripts somewhere in my
Well, you
office, which I do
should.
not. God bless you. God bless you. But to your to your question, how do I decide um, uh, to either take on a role if I've been offered something or not? And the question always is, who is this human being? Where is this person's humanity? And can I inform the humanity of who this person is? If the answer is yes, I feel I can contribute something, then I'm more apt to um, take the work on. If the answer is no, and if for whatever reason the writing is stereotypical or cliched, or I do not feel that I can contribute something worthwhile, then I'm apt to say no, to pass.
And how important has television been in over the last couple of decades for you?
Television has been really important to me. One, because in the last few years prior to um, 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 Bloods, I was working in television. And what television will, I don't want to say what television will teach you, but the challenge of television for me, and this once again goes back to my theater training, television is really fast. So, what one is challenged to do, what I am challenged to do when I'm working in television, is prepare, 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 prepare. Preparation, 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 whatever that preparation involves. Because when one shows up on set, you have to pretty much be ready to work because the speed that the television shows that I have worked on, the speed is such that if you're not ready, you're going to have a problem. So it's preparation, 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 preparation. And once again, in my television work, it has compelled me to go back into to engage my training acutely, so that I am confident that when I show up on set to do the work, I've done as much as I can to prepare. So I guess the answer to your question is um, I have I knew this before I worked in television, but what I'm aware of in television is that the speed with which the work is done compels me to be um, acutely ready to meet the challenge of the work.
Is there one show in particular that you are particularly proud of that you've engaged in?
As far as TV is concerned, well, I have spent prior to Bloods, I worked in a television series called The Good Fight, in which I was playing a lawyer, and I'm proud of that work. Um, I, I guess I have pride in all of the work that I've done in television, in some way, shape, or form. But what I'm particularly proud of with regard to The Good Fight is that my preparation, the manner in which I brought that character to life. The character was named Adrian Bozeman, and I found out that it resonated. It resonated with audiences, that I resonated with audiences. And that filled me with a lot of pride because um, Adrian Bozeman was not necessarily the ultimate focus of that work, but I was apparently present enough that what I brought to the work still resonated for audiences, and that I'm very, very proud of. And I have to say, I'd be remiss if I did not say that I was also working with a wonderful ensemble of actors, most of whom the core ensemble came from the theater. So there was a certain understanding, unspoken, but an understanding nevertheless. Christine Baranski, Audra McDonald. Oh my
Totally.
God, I knew I'm sorry.
They're total
I'm
theater people.
Yes, and I should not have named Audra and Christine because now I'm forgetting some of the other actors, and I feel really badly about that. The whole ensemble, Nyambi Nyambi, Sarah, God, Sarah, I'm forgetting Sarah's last name. But the whole ensemble came from the theater. And I know I'm forgetting some of my colleagues, but the point is, the whole ensemble, they came from the theater. So there was an understanding that we had. And because
Yeah.
even though the work was based in Chicago, we filmed in New York, which meant that many of our guest artists who would come in to do guest work on each of the episodes, they tended to come from the theater. And so there was a certain foundation that we all had as workers and co-workers together. And if I
And
have
it's cool when it goes
forgotten
on
any
for
of
a
my
while.
past, I'm sorry.
It's cool when it goes on for a while, you know, and you've got something that lasts for a while.
And one can invest.
Right.
And I just want to say, if I've forgotten anybody in the ensemble, I apologize, okay? Because the core ensemble was wonderful, really, really,
Well, there are a
really,
lot of
really
them. There are a
wonderful.
lot of them. So let's look at some clips from Ransom and the Cider House
Sure.
Rules.
Can I say one thing before we get to the clip?
In the last
I
2 hours.
cannot, I not speak about Michelle and Robert King and Brooke Kennedy, the producers, who also were central to the work that we did in The Good Fight. So please, the clip.